Welcome to another episode of Just Joshing, a DC Hoop Show. It's been a few weeks. Obviously, I had the holidays and everything, had to take some time off, but we're back with one of the big dogs of Wizards Twitter. Everyone say hello to Matt Modderno of Bullets Forever and Bleav in Wizards. Matt, how you doing, brother?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. I told you this before we recorded. I'll say it again here too. You've been doing a great job covering the team. So thank you for doing that and carrying the torch for everybody. And hopefully for your sake, all the time you're putting in, the Wizards continue to get better and better, and there's more fun stuff to talk about.
Absolutely. Well, there is a lot to talk about, and it has been fun. I mean, I've been talking with a lot of the guys. The past few weeks here have, I've felt a shift. We've all felt the shift, right? The Wizards not only are playing better, but it's not just that they're like winning. It's like you're seeing what they're trying to do come to fruition in real life, and it's not just like talking points and ideas, you know? And that feels really good. I mean, Alex Sarr is leading the NBA in blocks per game. And that's on a minutes restriction. So that's the one thing. And then
It's crazy.
the team is just playing like competitive. They're 7-5 in their last 12. They're 5-2 in their last seven. And this is a team that's still like, obviously the organization is not super pressed about winning yet. So what's going to happen when they are, you know? So what's your take there?
Yeah, I didn't see it coming. To be honest with you, I predicted this would be a historically bad team and a historically bad overall year, and they looked the part for the first quarter of the season there. But guys have just taken a jump a lot at the same time. I think the vets have actually done a good job of kind of like plugging some of the holes for where the young guys aren't quite as competent yet. So shout out to CJ. I was not loving his play at the beginning of the year. I thought there was some gunning and he was really bad on defense and he kind of hurt them. And now it's kind of the opposite where he's actually like almost a positive asset for him in this trade we may talk about here in a bit. So shout out to them. It's exciting to see. I think Keyshawn's growth has been my individual favorite thing to watch just because I like that mold of player. But Sar's obviously right up there too. And you got to give a shout out to Justin Champagnie, man, like a guy that most of the league realistically wrote off. The Wizards found a way to get a guy here on a cheap contract that honestly, if I were a contending team, he's a dude I'd try to go like give real capital up to get because he's on such a team friendly deal. And I think he drives winning. So good find on the perimeter, on the periphery here for the front office.
It's funny with Keyshawn, he hasn't even been in recently, and they're still going on this run, and he's
Yep.
one of the best cleared. So that's another thing. What does that tell you, right?
Yep.
I mean, I think that the depth is showing. You mentioned Champagne, and just to get right into it, you see a lot of mock trades with the whole Trae Young situation. We all know it. We're all aware of what's going on. Champagne is one of those guys that it's like, oh, they should, the Hawks should get him, or like, oh, the Hawks need one of the main young guys like Keyshawn or Trae, and it's like, dude, people don't understand that is so not happening under any circumstance. And it can't happen because the Hawks don't have the power to make it happen. You know what I mean? Like if they're trying to get off of this contract, the Wizards don't need to give them anything really of important value. That's the article I wrote yesterday. It's the point I'm going to stick to. You know, they are the Hawks are a team that, they're trying to get off an albatross contract. Trae Young is a shorter guy for the NBA standards who doesn't play great defense. That's not like great in today's league. Small point guards are falling out of style a little bit. He's still very talented, but
He
he's
might
not
be the
worth.
worst defender in the league. Like you were very generous to him. That was a nice way to put it. So like this is just like like he's like when Dame was in Portland, he was like okay, like this could objectively be the worst high minute defender. So like you really have to account for that. And he makes a lot of money to be the worst defender in the league too. And
Yeah.
I'm not discrediting the offense is amazing, but just that gives them even less leverage. He's not just like passable. There are very few teams that don't want to take on a guy that he's that rough on that end of the floor.
It's funny. It's kind of like Jalen Brunson, but Brunson's better now. And like, the obviously the Hawks, they beat the Knicks before they had Brunson in the playoffs and they made the conference finals.
Yeah.
And now the tables have turned where it's like Trey's not in obscurity, but he's just not on that same level as Brunson and the Knicks are now. and it's just a lot of the teams on the Eastern Conference. I mean, like Detroit, for example, have just passed them by, but the Hawks have promising outlook with Jalen Johnson and everything, but it's just like Trae's not going to be a part of that. We all know it.
Mm.
And it's like the Wizards have the most cap space by far to take him on. Um, and it's like nobody else really want. I was just reading another report by Jake Fisher at the Steinline. Like Trae likes the Nets and the Timberwolves, but they don't want him.
Right.
So it's like I don't think Trae has much power here. It's not like Giannis where he can kind of call some shots. Like
They didn't give him a no trade clause. We've seen what that can do for a team. So
yeah, or it's not a Bradley Beal situation. So it's like I think I'd be surprised if Trae gets traded anywhere else other than DC, honestly. It'd either be traded to the Wizards or nothing, but um I don't know if they want to keep him even into the summer just because like you probably want to get a head start on what your vision is, right, for your team, and he's not a part of it. So, there's smoke out there about they want Anthony Davis. Maybe it'd be a free team trade. Who knows? But the point is that he's not a part of the future, and why waste time if so, right? So the Wizards have the most space. If you give them a first round pick to take him on, they'll do it. But they're not going to give you Keyshawn or Trae or Bilal or none of that. So forget that. So either take it or leave it, you know?
yeah, sorry, Hawks fans. I hate to be the one to disappoint you here, but and similar on the Wizards side, like our fan base is doing the same thing. It's been a lot of like, if we don't get the Pelicans pick, I'm not trading for him. It's like, well, that will never happen.
No.
Like it's a 0% chance.
Yeah.
The devil's in the details here of like, is it some 2032 top 27 protected first round pick, or is it, like it's somewhere in those kinds of things, like not, oh, we're going to be so awesome with this, Pels pick this year. Like they're just not going to consider it. Like the phone gets hung up and they'll just rock with Trae Young and it'll be what it'll be.
Yeah. It's like, okay, so the article I wrote yesterday, I basically, did a mock proposal. The Wizards give up CJ McCollum and Corey Kispert, and the Hawks give Trae Young and the what will likely be the Cavaliers' first round pick next summer. It's pretty simple, but instead of Kispert, you could give AJ Johnson and Malachi Branham if you want. It doesn't really matter. But the point is that the Wizards will get it first back. People say a swap. I don't even think it's going to be a swap.
No.
The Wizards don't have to really concede much. You know what I mean? Like you can give him Kispert as a good rotational guy who can score, but the Wizards don't really need him, right? So, like, other than that, I just don't know. Like, why would they even give the Oklahoma City first round pick to the Hawks? I don't even see why they need to do that.
I would be very disappointed and out on the trade if they gave up anything here. Like, you don't need to do this. There are plenty of other guys that people will want to dump that you could use to fill your salary cap with that will give you more cumulative assets than having to give anything up just to evaluate if Trae makes sense here, which to me, he doesn't. So I'd be less willing to see us do anything here. If it was a Garland or somebody where you saw was a positive asset and you want to throw some things in, cool, like, or whoever the next guy is that a team wants to get off, but maybe helps you in the short term or fits your vision a little bit better. I think that makes more sense here. Even Kispert, to be honest with you, like Branham and AJ Johnson is salary filler at this point. Kispert may have some like ancillary value. So to me, that should actually like improve what you get back with respect to the pick or the protections or any of those kinds of things, or maybe even get some seconds to offset it or whatever the case is here. But he would be a valuable player for a Hawks team that could use some spacing beyond the guys that actually play minutes for them right now, like Luke Kennard and some of those people.
Yeah, I mean, because the thing is, right, is like a lot of people are still trying to have the attitude like, oh, CJ and Kispert, that's not enough. Like, so it's like, that's why I made the Hawks give their cast first. Of course, the Pelicans first isn't going anywhere, like we said. But it's like, if Kispert is seen as the ancillary value to get you that first back, then that's cool. Maybe they add on another second too. That's cool too. But, I think more so, and obviously, with AJ Johnson, he is a prospect who I think is talented. I think he can be a slasher in this league, but he's not close to it right now. So if the Hawks want to develop him instead, or whatever the case is, that's cool too. But the point is that like, I think fans got to really understand like the Hawks have no leverage in this situation,
Yeah.
and it's all because of the aprons and all that. It's all the financial business
Mhm.
in today's CBA, and it's just like trades nowadays are so different than past years before the new salary cap, right? And
I,
it's just like it's not really like about the players half of the time. It's just about the money.
I was talking to a friend last week or the week before that works for a Western Conference team, and he was like, dude, I just moving in this front office role, I was so surprised by how intricate everything with the cap is. Like, you need just capologists basically to understand all the little nuances and details. And
Yeah.
so smart dude that was saying he was confused by a lot of the stuff they were talking about. So it's just like, oh, we'll just throw in this or make them throw in that. It really isn't that clean.
Mm.
And that's why these things take time, is because there's a lot of finer points to iron out. And like, I think you nailed it. Like, the Hawks don't have the leverage here, but they also aren't in a they have to do this mode either. It's a new front office, new vision, but they're not going to like sell the farm to do it either.
Right.
So it's the Wizards. You got to find the right sweet spot of like, we can push them and we don't have to take it and we don't have to throw anything else. Like, I haven't loved some of the like, even, this was a little one, but like having to throw Jordan Goodwin in to get rid of Beal, having to throw Bay in to get rid of Poole, like those little things I think are guys I found interesting enough. But so it's not going to hurt you ultimately in the grand scheme of things. This is not one where you should have to do that.
Yeah, the McCollum trade was funny because I was unfortunately one of those guys who was saying like I thought Jordan Poole would at least like net at first, and that's honestly because I think he's a really talented player. Obviously, he's making too much money, and that's why he doesn't have enough value. But I was surprised they didn't like get any picks. Like it was, I mean, and look, financially it's great, cleared the books, awesome.
Mhm.
And it gives you, it kind of gave them the ability to be involved in this Trae Young thing, or is the deal like it because the CJ is expiring, whereas Poole was not expiring. But
Right.
um, yeah, like to throw in Sadiq Bey in there and still not get a pick was like, yeah, gotta get a couple seconds or something. Like
Mhm.
Sadiq Bey is still talented. He just didn't play last year, but like he obviously was good, decent when he was healthy. So,
Sure.
yeah, I think I think with this one they got to be careful. I think they got to make sure it's more like the Marcus Smart trade where they get it first to get the salary. Might not be a lottery first, but at least a first, and then you could say in the summer package the OKC and the Cleveland first to get back into the lottery after you make your top 5 pick or whatever that one is. So
Yep, I'm with you.
in general, though, another point is like people are scared of Trey making the team too good. You fall out of the top 8 protected pick range. Um, I am just so stuck on the fact that the Wizards will not allow anything to happen in that regard. They will sit him if they have to. Even if it looks unclean or not ethical, this franchise cannot allow the Knicks to get that pick, right? So I don't even think that's a really big factor in this.
It's interesting, right? Like, they've done so much work to protect their reputation around the league or rehab it. Honestly, like that was a real issue for them under Ernie Grunfeld, was his bedside manner in dealing with players and free agents. And Tommy was better from that perspective, but he also had some detractors around the league and guys he'd maybe rubbed the wrong way that left here to go work for other front offices and some stuff like that. So I think they've wanted to rehab that image and make this more of a destination. So you do get to the point where Alex Sarr and guys like that say they want to come here. So, hey, Kyle Kuzma, we're not going to trade you at max value because we want you to go somewhere you want to go to. That kind of ultimately bit them. So it's interesting. Like, you're not going to bring in Trae Young and then say, hey, you're too good, we have to sit you. If he's not okay with that, you've almost like assuredly ended any chance of him being a long-term piece if he does look good with your guys, if you piss him off that way. But you can't sacrifice the tank. So that's like one of the things with this deal I'm skeptical with, because I do think healthy, like when he is fully healthy, he helps this roster more than CJ McCollum does. And they're winning games with CJ McCollum. So I don't think the front office will let that happen. But how do you protect from that without, is it just shutting him down the last 10 games of the year? Is that enough? Is that something he and his agent are going to be on board with? Like, it's something they have to have that conversation with them about before doing it. And you've got to manage expectations for someone of that stature when they come in. It can't be, oh, by the way, it's your turn and you're going to go back to averaging 30 a game. That's not what they want for their development. They would need these guys to have the reps and the touches and him to blend in around the pieces they're already trying to promote. So, like, you have to get a top 5 pick in this draft. That is the single most important thing for the future of the franchise, in my opinion. And nothing can come in the way of that. So if there's any world where you're worried about Trae Young doing that, great. Like then that's a data point that going in, and that should change what you do accordingly. But if, hey, this squad of his is bad enough and he's okay just rehabbing lightly for the next month, or quad, or whatever, a hamstring, whatever he's dealing with, I can't even remember at this point. But
What?
quad, yeah. So, like, hey, those injuries linger. It may be in his best interest to just chill and take it easy for a while here too. But, like, again, you need to have that call, and you need to make sure, like, we're locked in on what this year is really about.
I've seen enough from the front office that I trust them that they're not gonna like sell themselves out. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I Will Dawkins seems really patient. I think, I'm sure Ted is like a little like unsettled, but
Yeah, that's really what I worry about. Like, you just nailed the concern for me is, well, Trae will sell some tickets, but he also may win us some games. And maybe if we win a few more games this year when we bring him in, maybe I can recoup a little money that I wasn't getting otherwise this year. And that makes me a bit nervous. But even with Will, like, they didn't really shut things down too much last year. That Bub loss at the end of the year ultimately is probably the difference between Dylan Harper and Trae Johnson. So, like, I like Trae Johnson, but there's some. It doesn't always work in your favor. Like, you have to, like, be so overly conservative with this that I trust him too, but like, you can't do yourself any disservice here too.
you mean when Bub hit the game winner on Miami?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess it's funny. Well, I guess because the Jazz got the worst record and got the fifth pick. So, like, if the Wizards would have had the worst record, would they have gotten the fifth pick? I mean, I don't know.
You don't know, but
Yeah,
it moved your percentages that
right.
one shot. And if it's AJ Johnson at the end of that game, that probably doesn't happen the same way. So,
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is hard. I understand their position because you want the young guys to develop, and now it's like they're developing too much. So it's like, so you want to lose, but you also want to develop, and it's just you're walking that line, right? And you know, I think more so with this, it's I think they need to have a conversation with Trae's camp and Trae, that like, hey, like if you want to come this season, because the thing is, you could just wait till the summer if you would still want to do something, right? Like the Hawks could wait too. Obviously they'd rather probably have a head start, but they can
yeah,
wait
for sure.
But if they don't want to wait and they say, all right, like it's not that we don't want to play you, but are you okay with sitting for some games so that we can protect our pick? If you're not okay with that, then we shouldn't do this right now.
Yeah,
I think it's that simple,
100%.
but they got to address it for sure, and it can't be like a miscommunication or something like that. That is the most important thing. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, like, that gets ugly quickly, and that's just not a thing you even need to deal with. And we're seeing these young guys, even some combo of them. You mentioned they're doing this without Keyshawn right now. Like, you throw a healthy Trae Young in there in March, like, I don't
Yeah.
know, do they win every game in March? Like, I mean, I don't think that's the case, but there are some other pieces here that, I don't know, maybe you do look at some deals for some Justin Champagnes and things like that and stockpile some assets. Do you get, I don't know, some of these young guys out here? Do you go even smaller? Like, your only other backup big here is Marvin Bagley. He may be on the Pistons the second half of the year here too. Like, they're gonna have to start thinking that way. Is, how do you protect yourself from yourself, basically?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think I definitely anticipate Bagley being shopped around again, just like he was shipped out,
Yeah.
especially with an expiring contract. I mean, I think with Champagne, I think it would suck if he got traded. I mean, there's obvious it's a business, but I think he's such a good culture guy, glue guy. His offensive rebounding rate, I think pound for pound, they always say, right? He's probably the best offensive rebounder pound for pound in the league, since he's only 6'6". Last night he made almost all his shots, had 17 points. He's a guy that is really coming into his own. I think he'd be great to keep around. If they have to trade him for some reason, like you mentioned, like they really have to protect it. that's fine. But I think if they can do it without that, like I'd much rather trade, guys like Kisper, Brandon Bagley, all those types before touching any of those.
Yeah, if you're throwing people into stuff to make salary work, those are the guys, but they're also not netting you anything of value. And this may sound kind of stupid, but like if I'm another GM that wants to like make a playoff run, Champagne might be the most interesting guy to me on this entire roster because he's not locked into your young core enough. So he's actually probably at least partially available for the right amount. The contract is super friendly. Like he is going to outperform that contract. And he's honestly probably underutilized here overall. So like he could actually be better for some other playoff team. Like if I'm the Cavs or somebody that could use some toughness and some wing switchability on defense. Like I'm not saying I'd give up a first round pick for him or something, but he's going to net you more than any of those other guys. So I wouldn't want to trade him in a vacuum either. But if you're in asset accumulation mode and protect the tank mode, you got to at least kick the tires on it, I think.
Yeah, again, it's like I don't think the Trae Young deal is the right
No,
sense,
not this one.
but
Totally, yeah,
but
100% agree
if
with you.
there's a better one, yeah, then you have to look at it.
100% agree.
You know, speaking of the young guys in general, Alex Sarr had what 5 blocks last game, 23 points. I mean, this dude is just on another level right now. I mean, his progression from year one to year two. He's still only 20 and he's leading the NBA in blocks per game. Might have said that already, but it's worth repeating. Um, I, it's just it's unbelievable. I asked him last night, like, do you think about how much you've grown in the league? When you have games like this, he's like, yeah, 100%. Like I've gotten a lot better on offense and defense, so it's good to see. Like he just straight up, it's just such a clear progression, and now he's like probably an all defensive candidate. And he's efficient shooting. He's making half his field goals. His 3-point shot is like actually pretty decent now. It's like 35%. So I mean, that's why if I'm the Wizards, like don't make any rash moves because like you got something good going without any star veterans in the building yet.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy to think about the jump he's taken offensively, like fully with organic growth. It's not like CJ came in and makes his life so much easier and spoon feeds him all these baskets that it's just like it's artificial numbers. Like he's doing this. I'm not saying himself, but I'm like it's because he's gotten better. It's not because someone made his life that much easier. And I'm usually the like preach patience with the young guys, give them time. Early in the year, I'm doing like, hey, we can't be giving up on Bub stuff, but I did not see a jump like this from him, even more so from like just a mindset perspective. I have like this image last year burned in my brain of him ending up with one of the Knicks guards on him under the hoop, and he shot a fadeaway floater and airballed it. And it's just like, this is our 7-foot center, 6'11" center. Like, oh boy, like we got to toughen this dude up. And then like the first play of the year this year, he's like rolling to the hoop against the Bucks and like hammering a dunk. And you're like, oh wait, the, can he do that? Like, so it's been crazy to see. The defense was never a question mark for me. It's just what was the offensive skill set? Would he ever do enough big man things well? And the crazy thing is he's gotten so much better at those things this year, but there's still so much more room for growth that it's like this dude could be scary in like 2 more years. And I don't expect him to make the same size leap every year, but
Mm-hmm.
even if you just add little nuancy stuff, like I've asked every Wizard center that I've gotten the opportunity to talk to for the last decade when they really felt like they got comfortable in the league. And I would say the average answer is year 4. And it seems longer defensively for the bigs than it does the guards because there's so much responsibility for them to cover up for other people. And
Right.
in year 2 to lead the league in blocks, like that says something. Year 4, he may be like a defensive player of the year candidate.
Yeah, and it's crazy because, I mean, I was talked to Rudy Gobert, speaking of defensive player of the year, guys. I talked to him when the Wolves crushed the Wizards the other night.
Mm-hmm.
I asked him about Sarr. He's like, he has all the talent, all the skills he needs. You just got to get stronger.
Yep.
Like keep working on your conditioning. Because Gobert kind of big boyed him, right?
Yeah.
And that was a moment where it's like, yeah, Sarr is super skilled, but he needs to just keep hitting the weight room. And I think, just keep hitting the weight room, keep hitting your fundamentals. And it's like, I don't see what's going to stop this dude, like you said, in year 4. Once he beefs up, once he keeps working on like his shot and everything, keeps working on his offensive game because his defense is going to be good regardless. Like, he's going to be one of the best centers in basketball, period. So it's, and that's what you wanted out of your number 2 overall pick. Everyone says it's a weak draft. It's a weak for like franchise, like cornerstones maybe, but talent wise, it's still solid. Like the Wizards made out pretty well in that draft, I think.
Yeah, I just did something with the guy who hosts the Hawks podcast on our network, and I was asking him where they're at with Zach Risacher, who I liked a lot. My like very clear top 3 in that draft was Castle, Sarr, Risacher, and I still have Risacher stock, but I mean, Sarr looks like the definitive, like, this was probably the guy that should have gone 1, and that's a miss for them. And I think you look at where their team is at right now, if they have Alex Sarr on it, they're probably not talking about the Trae Young trade, right? In just the same way. So it's uh that was a nice thing for a franchise that feels snake bitten to get a little luck that a dude almost forced his way here for a change.
Yeah, I mean, all the reports were that, Sarr wanted to be in DC instead of Atlanta because he just thought he'd have a better opportunity there. And I think he was right. I mean, not just him, but his camp, and
Sure.
like, with like, I think Risacher was put in a tough spot. It just
Yeah.
because of the draft class, it's like he normally wouldn't have been number 1. It just was like a lot of pressure on a guy that maybe wasn't ready yet. But yeah, I mean, I think then on top of that, right, that they got Bub and Keyshawn. Obviously, the Denny Avdija trade is not ideal for the Wizards, but you've seen Bub really make a ton of strides this season after really hitting a wall early on. You talked about Keyshawn already. He pretty much does it all. He just needs to be more consistent, but he can do everything on the court. Bub's 3-point shot has been just lethal this season, which has been really cool. I don't know. I think the Wizards have honestly yet to kind of like in this administration have a bust, and I think that says a lot so far. The jury's still out. It could happen, but I think the drafting has been pretty reliable. I think trade wise, there's room for growth, right? Obviously, the Kuzma thing, they should have traded him to Dallas. Denny, they should have got more, but I think that there's a lot of hope, right? 7-5 in the last 12 games, 5-2 in the last 7. This is without when they're not even trying to be good yet. So I don't know what's your read overall on like your kind of prognosis on the future.
I'm with everything you just said, and I think you could nitpick on the returns here and there, or it's maybe more the timing of pulling the trigger on some of those trades, and but they probably traded early on Denny and got the worst end of it, and they probably waited on some other guys, so it's easy to criticize in hindsight, which I try to remind myself a lot of the time of like, okay, like probably didn't see this kind of Denny jump. I didn't see 25, 7, and 7. That would have netted you a lot more if he did that year before you trade him. But also, what if he stayed the same player? Like, what's the return look like? So you never really know. The drafting is huge, honestly. Like, but turning any of the things they've had into the assets they've had, like the cupboards were so bare here when they took over. Just getting off Beal in general, like we're seeing how hard that is now with the apron. Like the timing to do that when they did, I think saved them. Trying to like, we'll see where it is for another year. Like it may have been too late. We may have been buying him out for a ton of money. And I think just pulling the Band-Aid and expediting that whole thing was maybe the smartest thing that happened here. And convincing Ted Leonsis to do that was probably no easy task. And convincing him to stay patient for another couple years here is probably the move. But they haven't gotten the big fish yet. You have to do that. That's as good as all these other pieces have been. If you can't get the guy, it's like everyone talks about what happens in OKC. Getting SGA as the throw in and him turning into an MVP. Like that's the move that really puts you where you are. And getting Holmgren and Jalen Williams and all these other guys, it worked out great for you, obviously. And maybe we have those kind of guys on the roster now. But you got to go find your equivalent of an SGA somehow. And that's why I think everything with the prospects of the rebuild comes down to this draft, because You've already seen you won't be bad enough to keep doing this in future years. So this is the draft to do it, where even if you pick fifth or sixth, you could still get a franchise changing guy like that. So yeah, I feel really good about the position they're in, but they have to nail this next one, I think.
Who is your guy in this next, for that lottery pick, and who do you think they'll get? Is it the same guy or not?
I mean, that's the multi-billion dollar question. Think about the prospects of the franchise here. I don't know. I see a lot more conversation from Wizards fans about who fits the need the best, and I just still don't think that should even be
No.
a consideration. And I'm a big proponent normally of like, well, best player available really isn't a thing, because if you've got five centers taking of another center and you're not going to play him, they'll never turn into the best player in that situation. But
Yeah.
anyone they take in the top five here is going to find opportunity to play amongst any of these other guys. So they're going to have a chance to grow into that. So it's really, if you're 50-50 on two prospects and this guy fills a more obvious need or fits better with one of your core long-term pieces, like you could make a case for both a Caleb Wilson and a Cam Boozer and their fit next to Alex Sarr in the front court, because Boozer provides you with the spacing and the rebounding. Wilson, you get the athleticism, the switchability, the rebounding. Like there are both things to like about them. So if you end up, with one of those guys, like that's great. But I would still just take whoever I think is the most talented guy at the end of the day and assume we're going to find plenty of room for them. Like I don't think Darren Peterson is a point guard in the NBA. To me, he's a tough bucket getter who can create some offense. But can a Trae Johnson or a Bub Carrington play in the backcourt next to him? I think so, right? Like there's enough there from each of those guys from a playmaking perspective. And the way they built this roster, you get playmaking from Keyshawn. Alex Sarr can pass out of the high post. Like, so you can almost kind of make it work with whichever guy you want to end up with, which I think is a really underrated part of the way they built this out.
I totally agree. Darren Peterson's my favorite just because I think even though he's not a traditional point guard, I still think he can fill the role, kind of like
Yeah,
SGA just for the Thunder.
yeah, for sure.
But if they get to Bonsa, Boozer, I mean Caleb Wilson's looking pretty lethal, honestly, too. I think they'll be solid with all those guys. I mean, I guess Michael Brown would be like kind of my contingency pick. Even that's
Yeah,
not
for
bad,
sure.
So, but yeah, if they just get like hopefully top five, hopefully not six, but they'll survive if they do.
Mhm.
I think that, that's the key, right? And I think they have a high chance to do so. And that's exciting, right? And I think hopefully whoever they get and with that pick will be the guy, the big fish.
Yep.
Not they can use their cap space to get a trade, get a vet in the building, whatever. So
Yeah, that's the thing. You use the cap space to fit whatever the missing pieces are on the roster at that point. You don't draft less talent to do that. So I think, yeah, you just nailed it.
well, Matt, that was a phenomenal episode. Appreciate your time. Please tell the people where they can find your work.
Bleav in Wizards, myself and former Wizard Jihadi White. So check us out there anytime. And like I told you at the beginning, man, keep doing the great work that you're doing. And it's been interesting just to hear some of the reactions from some of these other players around the leagues here too. So keep asking that question for us.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Wizards playing in Philly tonight. CJ McCollum missing his first game of the season. Trae Young also out for the Hawks. So little interesting development there, but we'll see what happens. But Matt, I appreciate your time. And yeah, have a good day, brother.
You too.